What is going on, guys? This is MCS Red here again. Today I got a video for you on the Vortex Lok-Bolt installation. The Vortex Lok-Bolt is well anticipated, especially now that we have the fully auto and 3-round burst options available that are most primarily going to be in the Vortex and Hurricane configurations. Now, we all know that the Hurricane or MKP2 already has the Lok-Bolt, works well. Everyone loves it, but people were asking for the Lok-Bolt, so now we got it. There's some things I'm going to go over in this video that are very important, so if you are interested in purchasing the Lok-Bolt for the Vortex, make sure you watch this video. It has everything that you're going to need to know for you to install it correctly and be successful in the field. So, what is the Lok-Bolt? The Lok-Bolt, for those of you who do not know, is a device, basically a mechanical eye. And what it does, if you're familiar with the 468 Lok-Bolt or the MKP2 Lok-Bolt, or now the Bolt and Blizzard Lok-Bolt, what it does is there is a chamber on the bodies of our markers, usually at the front of the receivers, that actually allow you to look into the breech. And that space is not just a dead area. That's actually was the space designed for the Lok-Bolt. And what it does is it allows, it's a piece that is basically, let's say this is your chamber, okay? And then there's a piece that actually goes into the chamber to block the bolt from actually being fired or progressing into the breech to fire a projectile. What that does, okay, is that it will not allow the marker to fire unless the projectile engages that Lok-Bolt and allows the bolt then to move forward, because the projectile is now taking up the space in the breech. So not only is it a safety thing, but it also allows those of you who are, somewhat forced to use field paint, which we all know bears a lot of can bear a lot of problems and issues, such as inconsistencies in bore size, just very crappy shells. There's a lot of problems with that. So the Lok-Bolt was designed so it can keep more of you guys on the field with using a plethora amount of different types of paint or projectiles. So the Lok-Bolt is compatible with first strikes, it's compatible with shape projectiles, it's compatible with round ball. It basically is it's a safety mechanism that doesn't allow the bolt to move forward unless the projectile properly engages the breech, which means it's properly seated, and it will not be partially seated or overboard or anything like that. It's just a safety thing, and it allows you to be out on the field longer with not the best quality paint, and it also allows you to not discharge the marker when there's nothing in there. So you can't really dry fire it unless you lock that out. So that's what the Lok-Bolt is why it was created. It's very important that this is installed correctly, or it will not work. So the Vortex, there's a couple different versions with this Lok-Bolt, and that's just because of the shell change over the past couple years that we've had with the Vortex. So as many of you know, there's a lot of accessories out now for the Vortex, so we've been really putting a lot of time and effort into the Vortex because there's a lot of stuff that we didn't have before. So the Lok-Bolt's always going to go on the right side shell, okay? So I'm going to show you that just here on both versions, and I have two versions that I'm going to show you. Let's get right into it. Okay, so you can see here I have two different side shells, two different right side shells. And I'm going to explain to you the differences with the different kits. So both of the Lok-Bolts are installed. You can see the lever here, and you can see the lever here. There's going to be 3 different types of shells out there in circulation, okay? One of the shells, and I'm going to show you here so that way you can see it. When you purchase your Lok-Bolt assembly, you are going to get, let me see if I can get this out here. You're going to get, depending on the version shell that you have, that's going to determine the different type of Vortex Lok-Bolt kit that you're going to receive. So the 2 main shells, the newer ones, are going to have this. There's a hole right here, so that there's actually a pin in it that you're going to get in your kit. But this is one of the versions that has a hole up here, and also has the slit on the other side. A lot of people have asked about that. Oh, is there a crack in my shell? Blah, blah, blah. No, it's completely normal. The other version is this one right here, that doesn't have the hole, but actually has a small niche or notch that's popping out right there. That actually took the place of the hole. So this is the newest version. You also have that slit there as well. There also is a version that doesn't have either of those things. If you have that version, you can contact us directly and we'll swap out that right shell for you so you can use the Lok-Bolt. Okay, so do not worry. If you don't have either of these two versions, just contact us directly at mcsus.com, or you can jump on our line or come in the chat and we will swap out your right shell for you. Okay, so the first version we'll do is with the pin. So as you can see in your kit, you're going to receive the pin. So it's already in here. So just so you see, you're going to receive that pin and you're going to receive the Lok-Bolt itself with your spring. Now that spring is very small, so you need to be very careful when you're opening this and pulling it out of the bag and keeping track of your parts. Get yourself an MCS Tech Mat if you don't have one. Then you're also going to get your pin, and this is actually what locks it and allows the Lok-Bolt to hinge back and forth. So installation, what I like to do is I'll just take my right side shell and I'll go ahead and I'll lay that side down, and I'll put what you want to do is you'll see that the Lok-Bolt, it looks like this. So this part, actually, if you turn it to its side and you have the top, the C part facing upward, you can go ahead and drop that in. You make sure that the spring and everything is working and is in there correctly. So you can put that in there. And you want to make sure that you get it behind the pin so it falls right in. There we go. And you'll see that it's in there. I don't have the locking pin, but it's right underneath that pin. So I'll go ahead and I will go and put the locking pin in now. And the locking pin, there's a groove right here. You can see that hole right there. That locking, this is where that pin just slides on down. You don't need to hit it in or anything like that. If the hole is lined up, it'll slide right down just like that. And now you have your Lok-Bolt. So as you can see, that C part right here is actually in the chamber. So that's what I was talking about. I have the shape projectile bolt here for the Vortex, same one that's on the Bolt and Blizzard. And you can see here that when it's in the chamber, it doesn't allow that bolt, it just hits it. And that's primarily because, like I said, there's no projectile properly engaging it. So as the magazine feeds the projectile into the breech, it pushes down that Lok-Bolt and boom, allows the bolt to move forward. That is what the Lok-Bolt does. That is what it functions. It also will help you in the field determine when you're out of ammunition because you'll be able to fire and you'll hear that click noise. Now, one thing to remember with the Lok-Bolt that a lot of people do not know is if you fire your marker when there's not a projectile seated and it makes that click noise, as soon as you insert that magazine and that projectile goes into the breech, it's going to fire without you pressing the trigger. And that's just because the bolt's already reset, or it's already released from the sear, and the hammer is actually in the forward motion to fire the projectile and then blow back and reset. So whenever you hear that click noise, you need to make sure that you recock the marker before you insert your magazine, okay? Or you're gonna shoot that round off and you may not be in the appropriate place to be shooting off a round. So just keep that in mind. You know, don't put your finger in there or anything like that unless you know that the marker is in the rear and cocked position, or you've removed the air from the marker completely. Okay, so the last and final version is the one with just the notch there without the pin, and that one's going to obviously come with the same components, everything but that little pin that goes in there. So it's the same thing, but you actually have a little tail on this one. You can see it's a little sharper, so that's how you'll be able to tell the difference. And then you still get your pin here. We're going to go ahead. This one's a little bit easier, in my opinion. You don't have to worry about that pin and too many small pieces, but you'll just put that in the same way that you did the other one. And on this one, now if the if it doesn't move as freely as you want it to, or as it should, and it should be able to move back and forth pretty simple, you may need to remove some material on this version. And what I mean by that is you'll just take a file and you'll go ahead and remove material either on the lock bolt itself, on the sides, or wherever it's hitting, or you can do it to the shells here, just a little bit on each side, and that will eliminate that problem. So as you can see here, I have this one in now. I'll go ahead and I'll put the pin in, drop it into the slot. Now it's installed. You can still see it's in the breech, but you want it to be able to come back easily. If I press it, see how it comes back by that spring? If it doesn't do that, and you can feel a little bit of resistance, like I can actually hear this actually rubbing a little bit on a place. So what I might do is I'll just take it off, and I will go ahead and remove some material from the body shells. I won't touch the lock bolt just because it's a small piece, but removing some material on either side of the lock bolt is not going to damage it or hurt it. You need to remove some material on the inside here. You can see that I've already started a little bit, and that's usually because of the anodize. That just adds a little extra material and it puts a little resistance on the lock bolt. So it's no big deal. You can do either one, whatever's easiest for you. But other than that, that is how you install the Vortex Lok-Bolt. It's pretty simple. It's worth it in my opinion if you're out there using field paint. If you're going to have the fully auto options, it's just going to give you that extra confidence that you need to be successful in the field. Other than that, guys, I will talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the mcsus.com website via the chat, or you can message me directly on Facebook or give us a call. We'll see you guys later.